All right. Hi, Sigal. Thank you so much for engaging in this conversation. The very first spotlight session. You are one of the great members of my community, Waking with Wings, and it is such a pleasure to have you here and learn a little bit more about your dog. I learned a little bit more about what you're doing in this world, who you are, because the person I know you to be is just a super bubbly and very empathic and very connected and super tuned in with the energies. And it's been like literally 9 years since we really had a conversation together, because we met in junior college in a jazz choir class. So a lot has changed.
So much fun. Yeah. Almost a decade.
Yeah, so, and you are also the creatrix of HEART Healing Therapies, and I love that term, by the way. That's so fun. So tell me a little bit about your path from junior college and kind of what led you to creating your own business.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect place to start because really, I feel like at that time that we knew each other, I was still in high school actually, but going to junior college on the side, and I just, her tail's gonna make a little entrance once in a while. But I was struggling definitely. I feel like on the down low with a lot of anxiety and depression and also like body image issues, but people wouldn't really know that from the outside because I found like music and dance to really help me through those energies. But when I'd be alone in private, I would really like feel the weight of those different struggles. And so basically after high school, I just knew I needed a break from anything academic and really needed to like tune in to my soul, and realized I was like burning the candle at both ends, trying to be this overachieving academic person, but like having creative outlets. And so I moved to the Bay Area, and so there I got to be exposed to a lot more, I would say, the temple arts. And so I call it this amazing sacred temple dance festival that I got to attend. I call that like my initiation into the temple arts that happened when I was about 18. And so that really awakened the part of me that realized that I started belly dancing when I was 15. But I didn't know the roots of the history behind it. And when I was 18, I got to tap into the lineage of, and it turns out that it's all old temples in India and Egypt, and that there's this whole beautiful her story of the migration of dance and music that came together and formed what we know as belly dance today. And so with that gave me all these tools and concepts and philosophies to start working with, of learning how to really embody that fierce feminine energy and like really embracing my own body. And I feel like belly dance was one of those tools that just broke open any like ancestral trauma that got passed down from my mother's line, where I gotta take a deep breath because my body's like, okay, we're going there. Yeah, but you know, a lot of really negative self-talk and body image, constant diet culture, and I mean, and then I feel like I internalized it as a teenager and got like really extreme with it in my own way of like going into everything health route, like in terms of healthy eating, but overdoing it, realizing that there needs to be a balance and not counting every calorie or obsessing, you know, feeling like about being feeling good in your body and not about how it looks. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Wow, you said so much there that I just want to like unpack a little bit. And I mean, what really caught my ear was when you said the fierce feminine energy. And I am very curious about what exactly you mean about that, or like what you mean by fierce feminine energy, because I know that, I'm having this conversation a lot with people of what is like a healthy feminine expression versus like a feminine that's trying to mimic the masculine.
Totally. Yes. Okay. So this goes right into one of my major philosophies and tools that I work with. And it's really the Tibetan Dakini line, which is basically in India, there's the yogis and yoginis that practice yoga. And in Tibet, the female aspect is the Dakini, and they are the sky dancers and fierce feminine warriors. And so basically it's all of the mother and feminine archetypes in Buddhism are found within this Dakini lineage. And so it's all about fierce compassion and fierce mindfulness, inflated ego, and staying centered so that you can see clearly with discernment.
Okay, so I'm not sure if it was just me or if the audio cut out a little bit on the last part that you said before using discernment.
And 1 second, I'm going to grab Maya's bone, and it's making a little bit of noise here. Oh, it was actually my chapstick.
Oh no. Oh no. Hopefully she didn't eat it.
I know. Dog, I'm sure you understand with having a kid.
Yeah, thankfully he's not eating any chapstick, but there's different struggles.
Okay, so I'll just start from the beginning, I guess, on the fierce feminine. Just that it's from that Buddhist lineage of the female or feminine archetypes, where more people only are familiar with the masculine side of Buddhism. And I'm not a Buddhist, but I really resonate with this feminine lineage because it's all about embodying this fierce feminine warrior where like a lot of people think about femininity as maybe like the opposite of masculinity, where they think, oh, this must mean weakness or inability to cope with things, over emotional. But really, that when you embody, you empower yourself in energy, that you're able to have fierce compassion for yourself and for others, to be able to see everyone from a point of view of love, of if someone is being active or yeah, okay. But if someone's being rude or obviously acting from a place of pain, that you can see that and that you take it personally because you know that they're suffering.
Okay.
But also that place of fierce mindfulness where you become aware of your inner thoughts, your inner dialogue, and whether it's deflated ego of things, telling yourself that you're not good enough, or inflated ego, or like, oh, look at the cool thing that I made or that I'm doing. Finding the balance and staying humble and able to see others from that place of discernment.
Cool.
I feel like with discernment is so key because there's so much information out there now that you have to rein in and see, does this feel right? Does this feel like truth? Are there subliminal messages in this that I may not, fully seeing because I'm wrapped up in the passion or whatever, fear?
Right. Or just your own emotions that might be filtering out or filtering what information that you're receiving.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sigal, I was wondering, because I know you have those earbuds available, I was wondering if you could try using them and it might help with the audio quality.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's try that.
Thanks. We'll see if it helps. So I want to be hearing every juicy word that you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Does this sound a little better?
So far, so good.
Okay, great.
Just hoping that Maya's not going to trip up on your cord now.
I know. Here, I'll make sure I get close so she can't. She's like all up in everything I do. I don't know if you've seen some of the tune-ups. She always makes a little like debut. She's like, "Ooh, I like that. I like that one, Mama." Yeah.
Nice. So I have to ask, what is that instrument behind you?
Oh, that's actually an oud. And so that's an Arabic oud, I believe. It's actually my boyfriend, Kyle's. And so it's an Arabic instrument used often in belly dance music and yeah, just a lot of different stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Very neat. Well, so it sounds like you have a really broad knowledge about the feminine and the masculine energies, and especially when it's applied to like the Eastern philosophies. So I was curious about how you fit in the relationship between your own inner feminine and inner masculine energies.
That's a great question. It's something that I honestly have struggled with for many years because I identify a lot with my sun sign being a Capricorn, and that is a very masculine energy, very goal-oriented, linear, timeline thinking, trying to work hard to reach the top of the mountain. And so I feel like a goat in that sense. Like totally. And but I also have Cancer rising as my ascendant. So
no way, me too.
Really? Yay! Okay, so you're gonna totally understand this. So that's the opposite end of the spectrum, like directly opposite from Capricorn, being completely watery and emotional and feminine. And so I feel like actually by starting this new business, HEART Healing Therapies, it's really been helping me bring awareness to my old, more masculine behavior patterns that I had developed to get through school, to get my degree, different things like that did actually have those outside timelines of, for becoming a board certified music therapist, I had to complete an internship and different things like that. But then like releasing that and realizing that, those were tools I needed to serve that situation. But now I'm not in that situation. And now I get to tune in to what feels good to my cycles and my timeline and my energy cycles, And so it's been really eye-opening on just how many layers there are to unpack of truly masculine and feminine, of learning that feminine power to pause and to actually give yourself that time and space for things to manifest or for you to replenish or for those ideas to come through. Yeah, where before I felt like if I wasn't doing, then what was I spending my time on? I felt like it wasn't being efficient or valuable. I think the first time I ever learned how to relax was when I was 18 and I was like in a hammock in Costa Rica. It like took that to teach me like, oh, this is really cool. like I don't need to be thinking about tomorrow or like what I'm gonna do next. Like I can just enjoy the beauty of this moment and just like be happy in my body and feel how good, where like my parents did not model that for me. They were both workaholics. And so and that's the other thing of like breaking that ancestral lineage that you inherit from your parents and their parents of that, scarcity mindset, and that you need to work really hard in order to be successful, or really you just have to work smart, right?
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit more about the inheritance from our ancestors, like how how you understand that to work and play out?
Yeah, well, I think, excuse me, what's really awesome is now science, shows us that in our DNA, that traumatic events are recorded in our DNA and get passed on to future generations. And so for me, I'm personally am Jewish from both my mom and my dad's side. And so we have a lot of ancestral trauma in our lines where, we have times of the year that we think about the destruction of the first temple in Jerusalem, where like that is an event that happened that is in our DNA and that we actually remember in order to honor that part of ourselves and heal that part, where no longer do we need a temple to go to. We can then have that sacred space within us, and of remembering that no matter what the external circumstances are, that you can go within and connect to your higher power, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, and so what's really cool is, in the same way that ancestral traumas are passed on, that you as yourself, by healing yourself, you can actually heal those ancestral traumas and stop them from being passed on to the future generations. And then in that sense, it's like, what is time? Because really you're healing past and future at the same time. And then our sense of time is masculine on this linear plane, but really when you look at the physics of time, it's cyclical, and once you move out of this third dimension, you can tap into any point. And so anything, when you get I love quantum physics, when you really when you like really get into it, you are affecting all that happened before and after you with your consciousness, and like bringing that light to those parts of yourself, and like really like embracing it, feeling it, and working through it.
Whoa, I love this. So okay, this is blowing my mind right now, because I'm thinking of time being linear, but also cyclical. And this is part of like the paradox. This is part of the duality that exists. Just the truths of this experience. I don't know if it's because it's the little crag that our consciousness has kind of like wedged itself into, but it's like this place where the cup is half empty and half full. It's not or, it's both. It's the paradox.
Oh, and yeah. I have to share something that I recently learned, and I just love it because it's all about breaking down the quantum physics concepts. So in quantum physics, we are both particle and wave at the same time. And so the more you are particle, the more solid your structure is, and the more wave you are, the more fluid and adaptable you are. And so by entraining your brain to go into higher frequencies through deep meditation and different work, by getting into that high frequency state, you become more wave than particle, and then you're more open to all the possibilities in the quantum field once you enter that state, because you become aware of how many more possibilities there are. You're just energetically open. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Oh,
And that's another manifestation of the duality, that things are both particle and wave.
Yes.
That is so cool. And I love what you said about our ability to tap into the potential that our particles have, because we are, in a manifested form that we're experiencing, we are the particle, but there's also that vibrational reality that exists that is becoming. So we are human beings and human becomings.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And
so tell me about...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to finish what you're saying?
Sure. So
okay. Sorry. There was a little hiccup there.
Oh, you're good. It's okay. Oh, I already forgot, huh?
Well, then tell me about your process with meditation.
So I have a morning ritual that I do, and I give myself a pat on the back if I do it before noon. I think it's all about like not being too hard on yourself, but that I personally learned movement and breath work based grounding meditation from an amazing teacher in the Tibetan Dakini lineage, and she taught me this whole morning ritual, actually. And so it starts off with a grounding exercise, and then I actually move into a Tibetan breath work exercise. And so it's kind of intense. There's a bit of holding your breath, breathing into all of your energy centers, and moving, again, movement with breath. And it basically gets the fire going in your belly. And when you tune in, you can really feel the physical heat emanating afterwards. And then I usually end that with like a qigong little exercise to get the energy flowing through my whole body, and then I have an opening dance prayer that I end my practice with, and it's basically honoring all of the elements and giving thanks to the earth for grounding us and supporting us and allowing us to borrow our bodies from her, and bringing that energy of gratitude up over and spreading it all around to all the beings around me. And then I end it with a little dance party.
Nice. I love that. Wow. That sounds intense.
It is. And what's awesome is over the years, it's mutated a little bit in terms of length. Before, it would take me a really long time to get grounded in and visualize. I'm not the most visual person, so it took me a while to be able to really like see. For this meditation, it's imagining roots going down from your root as tree roots down into the earth as you're doing these movements. And but now, because it's a little bit more ingrained and more practiced, I'm able to tap in a little faster. So what used to take me maybe 15 to 20 minutes as my morning ritual, like sometimes I'll be through it in 10 minutes or less, because I'm just like in the flow, but also they've just been amazing tools for staying grounded. And honestly, I feel like have just increased my energetic field so much, because like I remember when I first started doing them, that I would leave the house and I'd be like, why is everyone staring at me? Like, I just had this like magnetic energy after, and I noticed the difference. Like the days that I didn't do it, I did not have those results. Yeah, and actually it became to the point where like I actually stopped drinking coffee for a little bit because it gave me so much energy. And yeah, it's been really, I feel like having a morning and evening ritual has been the most profound practice that I've integrated into my life, and it's come and gone, you know, and I'm so grateful to be back in it, and I feel that difference so much that I'm like, why would I ever stray again, you know? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's funny because it kind of goes back to those cycles, right? Like we're on some kind of, there's so many different cycles going on at once, you know, the smaller cycles, the larger cycles, and, you know, how those things play out in our life are a lot of times just like unconsciously, subconsciously orchestrated. And, you know, so it's part of that is just trusting it, right? Like that sometimes it's okay for us to let things go for a little while, because when they come back, they have this whole new significance in our lives.
Oh, so true. Yeah. And I think that's a huge part of not guilting or shitting on yourself for being like, oh, you know, and I heard from someone earlier today that I follow that does tarot and astrology, of, you know, like it's amazing if you can hold yourself accountable in your life and do all these things, but sometimes at the end of the day, it's okay to just pat yourself on the back for getting through the day, you know, like that's life too. And and I think it's just so important to give ourselves permission to go through those cycles and not judge them.
So true. So true. I think that that inner judge and the inner critic can be such a huge influence for a lot of people. And this is something, it's almost like an epidemic in a way, like an emotional epidemic. So I'm really curious about, perhaps, since you mentioned that you struggled with that in the past, what has been some of the major keys in your process that has helped kind of like let go of that inner critic?
That's a great question. It's funny because I actually just was going through some old documents the other day and found these old journal prompts that I had done on it was something called interfamily systems, a self-therapy where it breaks down your psyche into different parts of yourself, and one of them is the inner critic. And so it was having you imagine them and what you imagine their voice is like and what they're saying to you, and mine was like this artsy French man who was like, you are not good enough, your music, like whatever, like you need to be practicing more, what are you doing here by the lake, like like it's totally like French beret and everything, like, but and so
I love that.
And it's so great to like really tune into the different parts of yourself, because I feel like for me, my philosophy with sound healing and music therapy, any healing artwork, is more tapping into the different archetypes, be it goddess archetypes or these different parts of yourself. And and so for me, I feel like it's really been about tapping into my intuition and trusting that I do know what is true for me, and also like leading with my heart, that knowing that as long as I tap in to my heart and my intuition, that I will be guided in alignment with, you know, what I'm supposed to do. And sometimes it's hard because our hearts can have you know, a few different places of attachment. You know, maybe like a friend is asking you for help with something that you really want to help them and you would have in the past, but that you realize that you're in a situation where that actually isn't serving you by doing that, and that you have to like create those healthy boundaries. And so a part of that, you know, is leading with the heart, but being able to say no sometimes, and not feeling bad about it, and knowing that it's for the purpose of being able to continue to give and continue to receive, and keeping your heart open for that energetic transaction. And so I feel like it's been so much about surrendering, actually. Like, and that's where it's really difficult as a Capricornian woman to be like, I am just going to surrender, like I don't know what's next, like, but I know that I'm tapping into my intuition and my heart and I'm following my gut. But then my Capricornian side is like, you know, what's going to pay the bills, what's going to, you know, what is all these next steps, which is important. But at the same time, we don't know everything that is going to happen. We can plan, but, you know, right now especially, it's really hard to plan because we don't really know what our situation will be looking like. You know, it's kind of day to day almost. And so I think it's been really about like releasing that, and then miracles happen, you know, like of just things coming through that you may have put it out into the world, but you might have actually forgotten that you did, and all of a sudden you get a random message, or someone's reaching out to you for something, and it ends up just like the flow continues, you know. And
yeah, so I love that visual, because like what immediately came to my mind when you said that is like we toss out boomerangs, like energetic boomerangs of sorts, that it's like you want something, so you just pass it out, and you never quite know when it's going to come back to you and how it's going to come back to you, because you know it's been on a journey. It's evolved, yes, and it's transformed, and when it comes back to you, it's like, wow, you know, it could be anything.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of like putting it out into the quantum field, and not limiting your available options by creating this like small construct of like exactly what you want, of more putting it out there, saying, you know, I would like to manifest this, and but I totally surrender the way in which it will happen, and you know, the outcomes to the universe, and you know, but you can put your intention and heart into it. But yeah, letting go, and I think that's been the hardest part, definitely, but so rewarding, because then you like feel the weight of everything off, and you realize that it's just these old belief paradigms that keep you in a mental prison. Yeah.
Oh, girl, the mental prison. The mental prison. That is a metaphor that's been coming to me lately. That just seems to be resonating with people that I bring it up with, is that our mind can, you know, especially when we're dealing with the inner judge, the inner critic, our mind can be like a prison cell where we're both the prisoner and the prison guard. Like those two warring aspects of ourself, where it's like one's too hard on the other, and the other's too easy on the other, and it's just like this, you know, really disharmonious manifestation of the relationship in ourself.
Yeah, and I feel like some poet that I've been tapping into more recently, Rumi, is a Sufi mystic poet. And I recently got a gift of Rumi oracle cards. And so they're like the most beautiful oracle cards with paintings, and each one is correlated with one of his poems. And so Rumi really focused on connecting with just what his idea of like higher power or sources is, just pure love, and being in that state of love and intoxication, like of just bliss. And that really it's once you free yourself from your own mental constraints, that mental prison, then you're able to tap into our natural blissful state that we're actually like. It's another wonderful thing that science is showing us, is that bliss is actually our natural state, that like happiness and joy and ease, that they feel so good because that's when we're just naturally in harmony. But that is our natural state, that, you know, it's when we're in alignment, that's why it feels so good, you know. But
who would have thunk?
Right? Yeah.
Oh, that is so amazing. So before I ask you about like the real I don't want to say the meat and potatoes. So how about the tofu and potatoes of your business? So
that's great.
I wanted to ask, because you mentioned that you kind of give your different parts of your personality like a different what would you call it? Like a different
like a character.
There we go, character. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was curious about if you gave your intuition a certain character.
You know, I haven't, but I feel like for me, it's my idea of my higher self that I'm tapping into, and that also goes into like the spiritual teachings that I really resonate with. My spiritual therapist and dear friend Cheryl Reyes exposed me to Alea Dow and her teachings. 7 Cups of Consciousness is her book, and a lot of ideas that she has just basically is that idea that your spirit, your soul, has this higher self, where, you know, there's the idea of ascended masters like Buddha or different goddesses, Kuan Yin, or, you know, there's so many, Jesus, you know, whatever, you know, whoever you connect with. And so there's the idea that we actually, as souls, all become ascended masters ourselves at some point in time, and that we're actually able to access that part of ourself, or you could call it your higher self, you know. And so I think, or you can call it your truth. But for me, when I tap into my intuition, I'm tapping into that part of myself that already knows all that is going to happen, and I ask myself for the best guidance that I can receive in this moment, you know, with that knowingness.
So it sounds like you're tapping into the energetic, like the quantum version of you, your higher self. That's cool.
Yeah, that timeless soul aspect. Yeah.
Which is, you know, very likely just ourself on another dimension, right?
Absolutely. And so that's basically what I picture mentally. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
and I
so
remember
cool.
that was such an eye-opening piece of information when I learned that. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, definitely. For anybody who's watching right now, the idea of different dimensions, I think it can be really understood easily by just realizing that we have a 3rd dimensional body. But what happens is there's a projection of our body with light, kind of like our awareness, as a 2-dimensional shadow. So if you think of like our 3rd dimension, our 3rd dimensional matter creates a projection into the 2nd dimension, it's very well likely that our 3rd dimensional body could be a projection of a higher dimension. So I like to think of it that way because, you know, our brains are meant to function in this third dimensional reality. So this is what we can, you know, we can touch couches and, you know, look at pictures and stuff like that. We can understand this through the five senses, but it's kind of hard to understand, well, what other dimensions of possibility could exist? Like, what could our consciousness really comprehend? So if you kind of have that metaphor in a way of like that two-dimensional shadow, it's very likely that this dimension could be, like, in a sense, a shadow of the higher dimensions.
That's an awesome way to put it. Yeah.
Which is so cool. I love it. It's like it never ends how juicy this topic is. So we have been talking for a while. I've been loving this conversation, and I feel like it's definitely time to start talking about what you do in your heart healing therapies and what you offer your clients.
Yeah, well, HEART is an acronym I came up with that stands for Harmonic Expressive Arts and Ritual Therapies. And so that is basically an all-encompassing offering of music therapy, sound healing, sacred temple dance, which is my own fusion of belly dance with spiritual energetic practices, creating sacred space and honoring the body, tapping into that feminine energy. And then also ritual therapies, which is, you know, daily rituals or seasonal and moon cycle based. And so right now it's all very new and just starting up. And so I've been releasing free weekly tune-ups on YouTube where I do an intuitive card reading and a sound healing session to tune into the energies of the week and get us tuned up and ready to enter that with more ease and grace. Yeah, I offer private sound healing sessions, and also really with each person, what I like to do is come up with what I call a heart healing plan. And so that way we can really address, you know, your personal goals, emotional, physical, you know, mental, spiritual, and really see what, you know, it depends on, excuse me, what the person is looking for and what they need, right? And yeah, and so I've been hosting some private sessions outdoors and at people's homes. And what's wonderful about sound healing, especially, is that you don't have to be within 6 feet of each other for it. So there is that wonderful, like, you can practice safely of receiving these healing sessions. And I'm starting to get a virtual healing arts temple online. That way people can join in virtually for sound healing, meditations, live and recorded, and for sacred temple dance as well. So that's all coming soon. And also there's going to be a group course coming soon called Ishtar Initiation. And so this is, to me, I don't know of anyone else that has put these aspects together, but I'm combining sacred temple dance with the belly dance lineage with sound healing and using my Tibetan singing bowls, and I have a harmonium that's on its way, so I'll also be using that, which is, for people that don't know, a little pump organ. You pump it with your hand and you're able to play the piano keys, and it's a beautiful drone sound, but very healing. And so together, I'm going to be working through each energy center and doing a combination of movement and dance with these sounds and processing and rituals. And so there will be very soon going to be releasing some more details about that, but it'll be a group for 9 women to join together for a month online in this virtual experience.
Wow, that sounds so exciting.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and a part of it has been realizing that that really it's not me that's creating all of this, that I'm channeling this from my guides and my ancestors and my lineage, and that basically it's kind of like me tuning in, and the universe is like, all right, it's time, and me being like, okay, I'll put it together now. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So cool. So when is your group? Do you have a date of when the group is going to be starting?
I don't have a date yet. I'm
Okay.
going to be looking at some upcoming astrology to kind of pick and choose my time. I've been learning a lot about tapping into also my menstrual cycle and looking at the different seasons with that. And so it's a new, amazing way to plan my business by looking at the astrological and energetic factors. So yeah, it'll be coming soon, but also on top of this, something that I wasn't quite intending to begin so soon, but is happening. It's one of those boomerangs that got thrown out there, is I'm actually starting also a design business, where design for creative entrepreneurs. I do all my own graphic design and video editing, and so I'm offering that now to other people that are looking to do the same thing, that are getting started and need a logo or brand design. And yeah, and so that's actually, I just took on one of my first clients, and so that's, I'm kind of like, okay, let's slow down. We don't need to quite like push, like we said, all that masculine energy, like, you know, ride the wave and allow the right timing for this group to form, and, you know, choose that right space. But yeah, I'm so excited to actually be doing this design offering too, because that's a huge part of another aspect of myself, but it's all in that creative expression where I visually love doing graphic design on computers and things like that. So yeah, it's a wonderful way for me to have that creative outlet and help other people in a totally different but still very empowering way. Yeah.
Totally. Wow. Well, congrats for having your first client. That's really exciting.
Thank you.
And also, it sounds like you offer such a comprehensive like product when it comes to the energy healing and the sound healing, and so I wanted to just clarify this. Are you also teaching people how to dance?
I am, yes. I will be probably setting out some videos pretty soon on that virtual healing temple arts, which is on my website at hearthealingtherapies.com. But yeah, so I totally am able to do one-on-one sessions virtually and in person. I used to teach actually at my college in New Orleans and dance there in a few venues. And so that gave me a lot of experience in learning how to describe things in different ways for different learning styles and things like that. So yeah, so if people are interested in just learning, you know, about belly dance and the origins of that, and just wanting to move, have a new creative, fresh outlet for some physical movement, I am absolutely offering that too. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds like it would make a great course.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I would love to tune into that. And so I'm curious, if, you know, someone wants to work with you, how would you go about the process of like kind of creating a program for them?
Basically, we would start with a general assessment, which I'm currently putting together, but it's, you know, an intuitive process, but basically with my music therapy background, I went to university for music therapy and became a board certified music therapist. And so it's basically a mixture between therapy, or I should say psychology and music. And with that, it gave me a lot of great tools, like assessment tools on how to approach the person. And I like to call it a person-centered approach, where you're really looking at someone and all the factors in their life. And so basically starting with an interview or an assessment of, of just daily practices, lifestyle, but then even more, especially with women, menstrual cycle and maybe, different traumas, or, but then mostly focusing on goals, what areas of your life do you want to work on, and maybe identifying some larger blocks that you already have noticed or identified that you want to work through. And I feel like a really wonderful thing that would be great more in person is actually using the singing bowls, my Tibetan singing bowls, as an assessment as well for the person, because the bowls themselves resonate in a specific way. And so if your body is out of tune, or you're holding a certain, or you have a blocked part of yourself, you can hear it in the bowls. And so that's like an energetic assessment as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. How cool. Well, so is there anything else that you'd like to add before we start wrapping up?
I guess just to visit, my Facebook page here. It's Heart Healing Therapies, and I have a Heart Healing community group that has first access to all of my heart healing offerings and all new announcements. And also there will be special in-group only content coming up. I've got today is actually going to be our first Buddha Wisdom Wednesday, and so I'll be pulling a card from, or a card or three, we'll see, from my Buddha Wisdom Shakti card deck, and tap into the energy for today and getting us through the rest of the week. But yeah, so I invite anyone that's interested in the healing arts, or that wants to learn more about sound healing or music therapy or sacred temple dance, to join that group. I would love to have you there. It's a brand new budding community, and there's already so much love and support, and so I'm so grateful and just so excited. Yeah,
I have been very excited to tune in to your new page, and I've been loving your posts and your really sweet YouTube video. The phrase that's been ringing in my head is like, your belly of jelly. Tell me again, what is it?
It's morning sun on my belly. Don't be jelly. Take off your shirt too.
Yeah, I love that. And I was like, I love. Yeah, it's like you're just normalizing
love your
that.
Belly.
Love your belly.
And all
love your belly. Because there we go. And I love that. It's just normalizing our bodies, our bodies are friends.
And like really, yes, and loving them and realizing like how much they do for us that we totally take for granted. And it's usually not until something negative happens with our health that all of a sudden we realize how wealthy we were when our bodies were, taking care of themselves. And so, yeah.
I like that you use that word, wealthy.
I think now has been a time of reprioritizing our values and realizing what's truly important, which is fresh water, fresh food, feeling healthy, and, you know, just having connection, right? Yeah.
Great.
Just
Yes.
bring it down to the basics. Yeah.
Definitely great advice. And I wanted to say, before we go, you had mentioned a few places to find you. You have hearthealingtherapies.com.
And I have
you
the
have
Facebook page. Yeah, and I'll have an Instagram account coming soon. And yeah, and then on YouTube as well. I have Heart Healing Therapies YouTube channel where you can tune in for the weekly tune-up, and I'm going to be posting some smaller meditations. The weekly tune-ups tend to be about 20 to 30 minutes, and I just added timestamps. So it's great. If you just want to speed right to the sound healing section, you can. And actually, a huge announcement that I totally almost forgot, but I'm going to be starting a Patreon where there will be different tier levels for if you would like to receive sound healing meditations and intuitive card readings for throughout the week, where you can choose, you know, if you would like them daily or 3 times a week or 5 times or whatever, but that you'll be able to choose on these different tiers of, from different heart healing offerings besides just what's going to be on the website.
Oh, that is exciting. I love that, because it's like you're making it accessible for people, you know, who might not be able to afford a whole program or something, but they can afford, you know, weekly something to support you and support us, our energetic spiritual health, which is, you know, arguably the most important thing.
Absolutely. Totally. And that's my intention, is I really want to make all of this accessible and as accessible as possible, you know, starting from like $3, $6, and $9 tiers, you know, and but also I know growing up in the Central Valley that this kind of work was just not accessible. There weren't people really offering sound healing or music therapy, and it was very few and far between for finding a belly dance class. But even then, it didn't cover any of the spiritual or historical aspects of that tradition. And so I feel like it's my purpose now I'm back in the Central Valley here in California, and that I want to be able to offer that to people here.
That is so exciting. Sigal, I am so excited to tune in to everything that you're putting forth into this universe, and so super grateful for you and your time, your energy in this beautiful conversation. Like I literally thought it would, you know, I was like, oh, it'll probably take about 15, 20 minutes. And then here we are. And I think we could probably talk for another hour easy. So, so I appreciate you so much. And I'm really looking forward to continuing our connection.
No, me too. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so grateful. This has been so much fun. It's so great to see you again. It's been a decade.
Yeah, you too. It has been such a pleasure to catch up, and I love it. I love it. I feel like we haven't missed a beat. It's like, all right, we're back.
Yeah,
we're back.
Totally. No, thank you so much.
And I hope you take care, and I'm really looking forward to all of the new stuff you're putting out.
Me too. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the stuff that you're going to be putting out too. I feel like we're on such parallel paths with all of this work we're doing. Yeah.
So true. So true. Awesome. Thank you, Sigal. And I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.